Any suggestions? Any suggestions or additions to tonight's agenda?
I'd like to add just a discussion at the end about the training. Again,
Okay, sounds good.
because there was a meeting with the town board.
Okay.
I'm sure we can-
What's that?
You will?
Okay, okay, terrific. All right.
That sounds
All
good.
right, any other additions? I'd accept a motion to approve tonight's agenda with that addition.
Becca, first.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
All right. I'd like to direct your attention to the October 17th minutes. Any comments, any corrections? The October 17th minutes.
Okay, the only, well, and this is sort of a question, maybe Niels can help out. I think when we talked about the stormwater for the Palmer garage, we also talked about construction,
Mhm.
stormwater management, and that's not mentioned. I guess my question is, Niels, when the permits, is that kind of work that needs to be done dealt with in the permitting is actually done, or do we need to do that with the site? Have a plan for retaining runoff during the construction. I mean, we discussed it
Yeah.
and they said there was gonna be done the
They submitted plans tonight for it. With their sketch plan, there's like.
Yeah. So there was a link in the
Okay.
memo that has updated that
Yeah,
they discussed that, and they had also on the second sheet, there was mention of their stormwater conceptual plan.
you didn't link it to that. Okay,
When your staff memo it was, yeah, I missed that too.
okay. Thank you. That answers the question.
Okay,
Thanks.
sure.
So as far as the minutes go, if there are no further comments or questions on the minutes, I'd accept the motion to approve the October 17th minutes
I move,
as written. Linda, I mean Rebecca. All right,
Right.
you got the second?
I got the second.
Okay, yeah,
okay, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Is there anybody here from privilege of the floor who is not an applicant? I know the answer is no. Except maybe you, but I know that you're part of the application. Okay. All right, then we're going to move on from privilege of the floor as long as there's nobody online. And our first item of business tonight is the Palmer Garage site plan review. This is, let me just open it up here and just give a brief synopsis. So the applicant, Jeff Frederickson, on behalf of the owner, Tom Palmer, proposes to construct a new 576 square foot detached accessory building for use as a garage. Per the code of the town, accessory buildings associated with single-family residences are permitted in the lakeshore zone, but require site plan review when within a slope overlay area, which is the case here. We conducted a sketch plan review on October 17th. We requested some additional information from the applicant and scheduled the site plan review for tonight. The project is not subject to a 239 review, and it is not subject to a seeker per our zoning. During this meeting, we'll conduct site plan review and review the additional materials that you sent. We had talked last time about stormwater, the way that you were planning to deal with that, and I see that you submitted some plans tonight that address that. Would you like to come forward and
Sure.
walk us through those?
Yep. I'm Jim Wobble with Crown Construction. We submitted this plan, which you might not all have, it sounds like. But the plan is to, on the uphill left-hand side of the garage, Crown Construction to install a drip trench 24 inches by 12 inches with #2 stone. This will egress into a swale ditch, which will then egress into a French drain 24 inch by 18 with #2 stone.
Let me just say, for those plans, if you look at the agenda and pull up,
No, I had the
you have
plans.
the plan.
I thought it was for post build. I didn't realize it also included during. That's what I.
Okay. Okay.
I misinterpreted.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I saw, anyway,
Yeah,
okay, so you have the,
I have,
the post build there.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, and then number one on that line is the slope fence.
Yeah, that's the silt fence. That should have been at the
That's-
top of the list, but
Okay.
and my notes had ended up on the bottom of the list, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, the silt fence would be built first.
okay, it just is my lack of knowledge on what all that means.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanna
No,
make sure.
that's actually all I have.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same as before.
Yeah.
It's with the addition of this French drain.
Yeah,
And the swale, does the French drain? Does the swale drain into this French drain, or is the French drain underneath the swale and the swale is sort of?
well, I would say that the French drain is at the bottom and
Yeah.
I would expect perforated pipe and then covered with stone.
Yeah.
So it would drain into that.
Yeah, okay, okay. And so that's at the bottom of the whole length of the swale?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I would actually run it the entire thing and then grade everything into it.
Yep, okay.
I was happy with it.
Yeah.
I felt like it was paid us off. The conversation we had made
Yeah.
it for an improved situation for the stormwater, so it's less likely to gully out.
Yeah,
Yep.
So I thought you all gonna, it's a nice,
yeah,
Solution.
I thought it was a good solution too.
Thank you.
What other questions or comments do people have? So,
To me.
yeah. Yeah, I think your plans look great. I went out today and just walked around and. Just, I think your plans as they stand look good. Just an additional suggestion for yourself, you have a lot of grass. North, west going up the hill. And if you do want to reduce the amount of water coming towards your garage. Let it grow up, plant it with, grass seed, if you let it grow up, and you let trees grow up, I don't know what your plans are, but letting the grass grow as opposed to cutting it, even if you cut it once a season, that's gonna help slow things down. It's gonna help, some of that water absorb into the soil, instead of just skimming over the surface and ending up going through your French drain, to preserve the life of that French drain, letting the grass grow up would be helpful. And also the section, that sort of gully down by the fence between you and your neighbors, to preserve that from getting deeper and deeper and deeper. If you took, some like riprap, like some large stones and just kind of made it, made like 3 tiers that would just slow the water down and allow it to drain through and not just rip out the stone and the dirt. And similarly with that part of the slope that goes, it looks like you have a side door on your house.
Yeah.
And there's a flat area that goes over to the gully. And that part of the slope from the flat area down to the beach. I don't know what it looks like in the summer, but if you planted something on there that was perennial, like an ivy or a vetch, something non-invasive. That will hold, help hold the soil together year round, because it looks like right now, plants are dying down in the winter and that's gonna erode too, just to prevent yourself some future trouble.
Retaining walls put up to next fall.
All right,
So you'll be able to.
great. Like I said, the retaining wall is the one that really deep spot.
Yeah.
There you go.
You can do them for decades.
Yeah. All right, great. I didn't know, have you been there for decades?
Yeah, 60 years, not me, but
All right,
I'm 65, so yeah, I've been there since I've been 5 years old.
okay, got it.
Just-
I'm sorry, I assumed that you had bought the property and were building this garage, and that's why I'm making all these suggestions about
Yeah.
how to maintain it, but
Been in the family for a long time.
great, all right. Cool. Anything else on this one? Okay, so we do have a resolution. Have y'all had a chance to review the resolution? Okay, it's planning board resolution number 2023-004. A resolution of final site plan approval of the Palmer Garage located at 14 Willow Point Road, Town of Ulysses. tax parcel 17.1-6. I will just, we're familiar with the details, and the county does not require 239. You've all had a chance to look down through the points of the resolution. There are 14 points. And there are 3 conditions for approval. One is temporary erosion and sediment control measures for construction activity must be operational prior to commencement of any clearing or earthwork, which is the silt fence. Any grading or fill on the site shall be done so as not to impact the surrounding properties. And 3, all exposed ground must be reseeded within 30 days of completion of the construction. If reseeding is not practical due to weather or seasonal restraints, the ground must be covered with mulch. I would accept a motion to approve. Yes.
Real quick, just a quick clarification. I got the number correct in the footer. It should be resolution number 23.
Yeah.
So just for the
Yeah, I
record.
was wondering about 04.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Wait. You're changing the title of the resolution?
So it should be planning board resolution 2023-023, not 004.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with that modification.
Yes.
Alright, I would accept the motion to approve the resolution as written. Second, any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Alright. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And we'll have that to you. You can talk to Niels about when he'll get that to you. But it shouldn't be too long.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
County board members.
Yeah.
Alright, so the next item on our agenda tonight is a sketch plat review for a Thomas 2-lot land subdivision. And I understand that board members here have had a chance to review the sketch plat in
Yes.
person, personally. The address is 3406 Gorge Road, Town of Ulysses, and I believe we have Robert here.
Right.
All right, would you like to stand up and tell us a little bit about your project?
Hi, my name is Robert Thomas. I live at 3406 Gorge Road. This proposal is simply to divide the property which straddles Gorge Road with about 6.5 acres on each side. We want to split it into 2 parcels because we're contemplating building a retirement home on the far side, across the street from our current home. Very simple.
Any questions from board members?
Retirement home as in a commercial thing, or is it
No,
a
no.
place for you to retire?
Smaller,
So, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
live in till I die.
okay.
Chicken clean.
Yeah.
And reach the
And
gutters.
heat, and heat, yeah,
Each parcel is just shy of 7 acres. Each parcel has about 700 feet of road frontage, so they're both conforming. One parcel is closest to Gannett Gorge on the north side of Gorge Road. Abuts to Gannett Gorge, that's something of note.
We like that.
But, yeah,
Mhm.
The other side abuts the Black Diamond Trail. We like
yes,
that too.
it's a nice spot, it is.
Yeah.
What would, I mean, I see that we have the maps here, we have the seeker, we have the permit application. We also have, there's one additional piece, it's called the, it's the site analysis.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, is there any additional material that any board members would like to ask of the applicant?
I actually asked for the UNA description, but Neil's found it, got it. So that was the only thing I needed. The rest was all laid out in the site analysis.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess,
And
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and so because this location, when you do build, it has to come, it'll come before us site plan,
Right.
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah.
Okay. But just as a subdivision. See anything to prevent that at this stage, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So right now you live in parcel A.
Yes,
It's either a yes or a no.
well, I'm trying to remember which is parcel A, but yes. we live
That's
on-
the house that's there,
We live closest to the park,
right?
where the house is.
Yeah.
Right,
and, would you, let's see, so we'll have to do, a new public hearing for all subdivisions and. We can schedule that out for our next meeting, which is November 21st, if you are available.
yes.
Okay, all right. And for this, I think we should do signage and mailing, and. The notification.
We're doing that every year.
So. I don't have anything further. Anybody else have anything further to ask the applicant?
No, just public hearing.
Yeah, so. Let's see, do we need a motion for that? Yeah, let's do it. All right, I'd accept the motion to schedule a public hearing for the Thomas site plan review for November 21st.
Yep,
Okay,
Second,
who is the second on that?
I think Bart was.
Okay, Bart, you got it. All right. And any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
I,
All right, excellent. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds great, thank you very much.
All right, and there will be signage that you'll need to pick up from Niels and post it on either side of the road.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'll get it from you.
Yep.
Right.
And it has to be
I'll email
posted
you.
for 10 days, so you can pick it up pretty quick.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now. I'm just used to these meetings lasting till 9:30 or 10, so
I know.
I don't know what
this
to
is-
do with myself here.
Just keep it
It's
moving.
just gonna keep it- you're doing all right.
I have a suggestion and a motion if you really want.
No. All right, so now I just have to get back to the agenda, and here, okay, let's go through. All right, so lastly, we have Tompkins County Ag District 2, 8-year review, and we have a guest, Cindy
Crystal.
Crystalbach. All right, all right.
I was gonna start with a presentation.
I'm trying.
And my computer is.
Okay, I have handouts too. We can just do it off of the handouts. If that's easier.
Or if you have your computer, we can.
Okay. So I thought we would just start by kind of talking about what ag districts do. So that everybody is on the same field and knows what's going on. I'm sure some of you are very familiar with this already. Hi.
And could you just introduce
Yes.
yourself and,
My name is Crystal Buck. I am the Farmland Protection and Ag Marketing Educator at Cooperative Extension. And so I also serve as the staff for the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. So that's kind of the capacity that I'm coming to you as.
thank you.
Okay, yeah, so, we have 2 ag districts in Tompkins County. We're looking at Ag District 2, which is the town of Ulysses, Enfield, Newfield, Danby, and part of Ithaca. For the 8-year review. So every year there's an open enrollment period where anybody can ask to have their property added to the ag district. Right now is the 8-year review, and that is the only time that property can be removed from the district as well as added. So part of that process is coming before the planning boards for each of the towns involved. That county ag and farmland protection board has kind of gone through their process of thinking about and looking at various places that they think should be added to or removed from the district, and then we come to the planning boards for your input. So that's what I'm doing here tonight, is to gain your input before we move on in the process. The next step would be that we would send a letter to any property owner that would be proposed for addition or removal from the district, so they have an opportunity to say, no, that's not what I would like. They get an individualized letter, they get 3 weeks to respond to that. And then it goes to the county, it goes through the committee, the planning committee, and then it goes to the legislature for a hearing. So I wanted to walk through what the ag district does legally. So if we could go next slide. There's lots of different property in the district. So there's lots of ag property and residential property, and for the purpose of the ag district, almost everything only applies if it's commercial agriculture. So it doesn't really matter if your property is a residential property or if you have a homestead or a backyard garden. It doesn't do anything to those properties. It only applies for almost all of these to commercial farming. So the first thing it does is it protects commercial agriculture from what's called unreasonably restrictive local laws. So in practicality, what that means is if there's anything that at the local level makes it harder for a farm to go about their normal business, including building things, then those laws do not apply to that commercial agriculture. Instead, it goes to the state level, to New York Ag and Markets and the DEC. So as we're looking at these areas that we're going to talk about, kind of thinking through like what that means on the ground, right? Okay, so and again, that applies only to commercial farming operations. Next slide. Also for those commercial farming operations, they are protected against nuisance suits if they are practicing sound agricultural practices. So that means that if they are out there making noises or sounds that are associated with agriculture, they can't be sued by their neighbors. And both of these things, the protection from unreasonably restricted local laws and protection against sound agricultural practices, is really meant to make it so that farms in the agricultural district can go about their normal farming operations and practices, and that can be economically viable. There's nothing that's making it harder for them to do that. And I also want to point out that this sound agricultural practices piece applies also to parcels that receive agricultural assessment, even if they are not in the ag district. So those are two separate things. The ag district is this physical area that has these different things that allow farms to do their farming business. Ag assessment is the tax piece. You don't have to be in an ag district to get ag assessment and vice versa. Okay, the next slide. There's a requirement for a public action notice if land is acquired by the government within the ag district, or importantly, if public funds are used in the ag district for a project. So this comes up with solar. That's what we're seeing this most as, because the NYSERDA funding is public funding. And so that triggers this public notice process for any solar project that's using that funding. And what happens with this is it goes as a notice of intent to Ag and Markets. The Commissioner of Ag and Markets reviews that. They can comment on it. They can require change to it. And it also goes to the County Ag and Farmland Protection Board for their comment. Okay, next slide. There's a limitation on local benefit assessments. So this would be only for new projects. So like a new water district area or an extension of a water district area. So for those projects, typically, of course, you would have that be billed to property owners based on the frontage or the area of the property. And in the ag district, it's based just on the small bit of the larger ag area that is residential. So it'd be like the house site and a little bit around it. And the next slide. So everything we've talked about so far, again, only applies to commercial farms, commercial agriculture. This last one, real estate disclosure, this applies to every property within the ag district. So if you are selling property, the buyer has to sign a disclosure form that says that they understand they're buying property within an ag district, that they should expect there to be the normal sounds and smells associated with farming. Any questions on that before we talk specifically about potential adds and removes to the district?
Do people have the opportunity to self-refer to be in the ag district?
Yes.
And how are they notified?
Yeah, so they can do that during the annual open enrollment period every year, but that would be only for additions. They can do that as part of, we had the 30-day open enrollment period at the start of this process. So this ag district review takes 300 days for the 8-year review. And in the first 2 months, there's a designated 30-day open enrollment period where they can request to have their property added to or removed from the district. We only actually had one request, but that was went through public notice and publication in the newspapers.
And how does the ag district that you oversee or work with correlate to municipal zoning? Where do they overlap? Where do
Yeah.
they interface?
So that's definitely one of the things that we looked at as part of the review. The Ag and Farm and Protection Board directed me to look for areas where there was overlap between higher density zoning, so like Hamlet or medium density residential commercial, and the ag district. The general direction I got from them was if there was existing agriculture within those zones, that should remain in the ag district. That those farms should continue to be offered the protections of the ag district. And in addition, if there's residential that backs up immediately to agriculture, that should also stay in the ag district. So that they go through that notification process of saying that you're adjacent to ag and you should expect that it's gonna happen behind you. So in Ulysses, there is definitely overlap between the ag district and your higher density areas. But it does fall into those categories of either being an active agriculture or being adjacent to active agriculture. There's also kind of a desire to not have it be too pockmarked. And so if most of the properties in the area back up to ag, even if one property doesn't, it would still be recommended to leave it in for that reason.
So are the criteria, does it take into account soil, like the having prime ag soils?
Does not.
It does not, so
No.
it's an independent issue. Okay.
Yeah, it's really, the ag district is really intended to support all farms regardless of their soil quality.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then my second question is and believe me, I went all this, so,
Yeah.
but I'm just curious, since it's all about protecting against, well, or one piece is protect against nuisance lawsuits, you mentioned noise and sound. But we're becoming aware of things, well, there's water pollution associated with it, that's not considered a nuisance, that would be a separate issue.
You mean if there was an instance of water pollution from a farm? Right, so that would it would, in the ag district, it would fall under the DEC regulations associated with that.
Okay,
Yeah, so soil and water works with farmers to address that. They still would have the same regulations on water quality that anybody else would.
okay,
But it would protect them from a nuisance suit associated with that.
I got it,
Right.
great, thanks.
And as far as homeowners that are adjacent to ag, is being in the ag district have any impact on property values that you're aware of?
I don't know that I am the person to answer that question. I mean, I guess it could, if you were selling property and you had to disclose that you should expect there to be smells and sounds associated with agriculture, somebody might not want that. Right? I don't know that there's been a study that has looked specifically at the property values.
Okay, and then, as you're looking at adding areas, like when you add homes that are adjacent to the ag district, those property owners have the option to oppose, like, is that what I'm hearing?
Right, so they get a letter that says you're being proposed to be added, your property is proposed to be added to the ag district. They could say, no, I don't want that, and typically then they just aren't added. It's really based on what the landowner, like if they don't wanna be in it, there's not really
Is there any
push to.
financial implication to a homeowner being part of the ag district?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing it affects for a non-ag homeowner is that they have this real estate disclosure. Right, it affects them that their neighbor is in it.
Right,
And that's, you know, the key part there.
yeah.
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 So maybe it seems like we're starting to talk about potential places to add or remove, like if we could kind of turn to. The memo that I sent you, and I do have copies, if anybody would like, including a color printed map, if that is helpful for anybody.
I love maps. I have it in front of me on my screen, but if you have like enough to go around.
Yep, I
you can
have it.
color print it.
Yep. Okay, so, the criteria, which I talked a little bit about for potential adds to the district, I guess we talked about the potential removals, for adding to the district. We're looking for any place that is a hole in the district that maybe it just as an oversight in the past got skipped, or a property owner that hadn't wanted it to be added, or for whatever reason, there's a hole. We try to not have holes, so that it's a little bit more uniform. So that's the first bullet point. I'm looking at the criteria used to identify potential parcels, if you wanna look at that. The second bullet point, if a property is currently receiving ag assessment and they're not in the ag district, especially if it's in an area that's adjacent to the ag district, we think that should be added. So again, you
What do
don't,
mean receiving ag assessment in that anyway.
you can receive ag assessment and not be in
I
an
see.
ag district.
Got it.
Right.
Yes, okay.
But there are benefits. There are extra levels of protection and benefits associated with the ag district, so we think those properties should be added. And also similarly, if there's active farmland, so we looked at the air photos, if we see that it's active farmland, even if they're not getting ag assessment, and it's adjacent to the ag district, and it's not inside, or it's not located where there's higher density zoning, we think that should be added. So if there was, looking at it, there wasn't this, but if there had been an area where there was active farming, not receiving ag assessment, but it did have higher density zoning, we would not recommend adding that in. So we did look at that level. So those again were the criteria that the Ag and Farmland Protection Board directed me to use in assessing each town. So there are 5 areas on the map that are being proposed preliminarily to add. And again, this meeting is really to gain your insight into this and your input, absolutely. So this is a preliminary look at it. So do you mind putting the map on the screen? It might be.
It's not in PowerPoint.
It's not in the PowerPoint. It's a separate PDF that I sent with the.
Okay, I'm gonna go look for it.
Okay. Well, you have a paper copy in front of you, so we can start. So number 1, and if you look at the memo, those correspond with the numbers on the map. So number 1 is an area that's just to the south of Teganic Falls State Park. And it's a single property there that is receiving agricultural assessment. And it's adjacent to the existing ag district.
Are we gonna go through all of them, or are we gonna comment? What do you prefer?
I guess I'll leave that to you. Maybe we can go one by one if you have a comment on number 1.
I mean, I have a comment on number 1.
Okay.
So I noticed that like there's a lot of property along the lake, right, which is not in the ag district. It's, I would assume, you know, this is what we're looking at is like part of our steep slope
Yes.
zone, and this is why it's not being farmed. How is it that, you know, not having gone out there today, how is it that that particular parcel is being farmed? What makes it different?
Well, it's not as steep and it is in active agriculture. Like it's hard to see on this map. Maybe if you can zoom in
Mhm.
on the map here, it's pretty high resolution. You might be able to see on 1. And you can see there's fields there.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of agriculture. It's very different than the surrounding areas, but it is also adjacent to the ag district. So to me, it makes sense, even though it's a little jut out there, that's an important part of the ag district, or could be.
And it's received assessment.
It's receiving ag assessment, so that means it's making at least $10,000 in gross sales.
So why do you remove the stream area? From it?
Yeah, so that is actually just to kind of clean it up a little bit, that's owned by the state park system.
Oh,
It just
okay.
doesn't really make sense to have state park land in the ag district.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only removable one.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move on to number 2? Okay, so these are again 2 ag assessed parcels. So it's at Perry City Road, Trumansburg Road. And then there's a forested parcel to the north as well. Just to kind of avoid having a donut hole there. So it's adjacent to the existing ag district. They're receiving ag assessment except for this little tiny, not tiny, but the forested parcel to the north there. Any comments on that?
I know what that is, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Once again, the jut into it on the bottom, is that because it was already ag district?
Yeah, that on the bottom piece. right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right, the shaded yellow, not the outline, but. And
It's hard to
actually, I don't
tell
know.
from this, yeah, it looks like it might be shaded already.
It does look like it might be shaded already, and I don't know. There's been a little bit of an issue with the county's ag data, so it's possible that was added. Like they're going through a review process to clean it up a little bit, so it's possible that's already in the ag district
Yeah,
and was added during Indian.
otherwise you don't see any reason why it would be left out.
No.
Right.
and why is there the cross off, like the 2 separate chunks on the top there?
It's just parcel boundaries.
Okay.
Alright. Are we ready to move on to number 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3, it's just north of the hamlet of Jacksonville. This is just along the outside edge of the hamlet neighborhood zone. It's not within the neighborhood zone. And it's in, these parcels look to have ag on them. Except for maybe not the little one to the right there. But that's like a little bit of a hole in the district that seems like it would make sense to add.
Mhm.
So these are not receiving ag assessment. But in looking at it, they do look like they have active agriculture on those 2 parcels on the west side. And they're outside of your neighborhood hamlet zoning area.
Mhm.
Any comments on that? Okay, we could move to number 4.
Well, one quick
Yeah.
question, a tiny little chunk, that tiny little square to the right of 3.
Yeah,
What parcel is that part of? Like, is it part of the, the non-ag parcel? Is it part of the ag
no,
parcel?
they're all parcel boundaries, so
That's-
that is its
That's
own
its own
parcel,
parcel.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So little, but there's ag happening on it.
Well, I don't know that there is.
What would
Really
be-
ag happening on there, it's more that it's almost like a hole in the district, and it's outside of your neighborhood or your hamlet zoning.
Okay. All right. Part,
Okay, we could look up at number 4. And this one also looks like it might have a little bit of a data issue. So it would just be filling in the one parcel, the whole. In the district there.
So those are the 2
yeah,
parcels.
there was.
That's
the property split,
It's one
yes.
parcel, it's not, yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
there's just a road down the middle.
Right.
But it is one parcel.
Yeah, it just looks like. That. On this map, looks like it's currently in the ag district, and that's probably a data issue. But regardless, the hole there, the property that's the hole, that would be.
So honestly, I mean. That part on the north side of Gorge Road.
Yeah,
I see that you're proposing to remove
right,
ag district that is adjacent to Tagana Creek.
yeah,
And my question here is, why add ag district that's adjacent to? Again, a creek, like I understand you're trying to fill out the map, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that's,
what's the logic?
that's the only logic, is that there is a donut hole there. Actually, let me make sure that that's. Yeah, it's adjacent to ag land. And it's a donut hole, that was the rationale.
And once it's part of the ag land, the only thing that changes about that is that they get a letter, or they have to, if they ever sell it, they have to notify.
Yes, but it also would allow them, if they wanted to do agriculture. I'm not saying that this parcel would,
Okay.
but that would be the other thing, that if they. So you could have a parcel that's vacant in the ag district, and somebody could say, I'm gonna do commercial ag there. And then by doing that, they can bypass your zoning
Right, so then maybe that's.
or
not
site plan
Right,
review,
so I'm thinking
right?
That's in our
So-
conservation zone, and it's
Yeah.
also UNA, and we have
Yeah.
limitations on
Right.
cover,
Yeah.
percent cover.
Right,
We won't want them to clear for us so they
Right.
could do ag.
right,
Want
so
that.
then maybe that's
don't want
not
that.
appropriate.
Okay.
And then the question is also whether there's other. Cause we did not look at conservation zones as one of the guiding looks at the ag district. So if you feel like, oh, that brings up this question about there are other areas that we think should be removed. But I will say that, you know, the opinion of the Ag Farm Protection Board is if there's active agriculture, it should be in the district and not prohibited.
And this one, there's really not active agriculture.
Right, on number 4,
Yeah.
yeah, right, so then it sounds like it wouldn't be in keeping with your zoning to add it in there, it's
Right.
better to keep it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds good.
I mean, it looks to me like he's basically got most of the town, so it's not, it's kind of. Not that, you're not gonna go back and start tearing lots of things out, but we do really care about keeping a minimal of, amount of clearing on the conservation and the steep slopes, obviously.
Right.
Yeah,
So. Do we need to kind of put the overlay, the conservation zone overlay on that and take a look at what's been.
That would be-
because that's what I was
Creative,
worried about
probably
number
good.
1.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Well, right, and number 4 even more, because that lot we just looked at splitting today,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it
that's a
looks
beautiful
like-
piece of land, if
Yeah.
they go clear cut
Yeah.
that. to
But
farm
it looks like
it.
it's already in. because
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
shallow.
saying, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Can we remove it?
Exactly, because
Yeah.
the question is, what do we do if we felt like we wanted to remove it from ag?
Right,
Right.
I think that if there were parcels that were not in active agriculture.
Mhm.
And it was within your conservation zone,
Mhm.
that the Ag and Farm Protection Board would say, that's fine, that's very similar to how they were approaching like hamlet
Mhm.
zoning.
Yeah,
If there was active agriculture in that. The approach that they are recommending is within, for example, a hamlet zone. If it's in active agriculture, it should still stay in the ag district, even though. You could argue that it's not in keeping with the underlying zone.
Right.
So I think that would be their opinion. It doesn't mean that you couldn't have that opinion and express it and send them
Sure,
that
Well,
information, that would be fine. That's
that
fair.
whole scenario brings up like the Hamlet Waterberg,
Mm,
where there is a lot of forested area out there that may. Well, looking at this map, is in the ag district, and frankly, there are some farmers around who are buying up land and ripping trees out by the stumps, and
Right,
Hmm,
yeah,
But we have.
I don't have a problem if they're already there. I mean, that's their right, but to continue on that path will eventually affect land use and, in my opinion, water quality.
Isn't that area zoned agriculture?
That's what I'm saying, it is, but there are
Right.
parts of it, parcels that are not active
So-
ag, but because of the big money coming into the area,
Right, would we have to remove it from, change our zoning first and then make the request?
yeah, I mean,
We
I
don't have
guess,
control over those. We only in the conservation zone do we have a limit on your ability to
Yeah.
clear trees.
Mhm.
The ag zones, we don't. I mean,
Right.
we've had
Okay.
previous conversations when we discussed why whether we should go to ag/R, because we had rural and ag, and there were slightly different rules, and then the last zoning kind of made everybody ag resident or ag R. And we don't, the only place we have this issue of where you can control how many trees you cut is in the conservation steep slopes.
Mhm.
So I agree with you, but that's an issue for the comprehensive new plan, right?
Okay.
If that's that important, and we can get people to agree to it, we could change those rules. Right now, the only place that it's relevant here is in our conservation zone.
Mhm.
So
That
it would be
little
really
wedge.
nice if we looked at this superimposed. I mean, I can kind of guess where that would be here.
Right.
I mean, you can kind of see, I mean, we have it up there.
It's the dark green,
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the shore,
yeah,
And then the blue.
in the blue green.
Right,
Yeah.
so I guess what I'm hearing from you, what if I'll do that, the conservation zone
And the
overlay
and the
and
lakeshore
steep
zone.
slope
Yeah.
and, yep,
And, go ahead.
and, I'm sorry, you said steep slope and.
And the lake shore, yeah, those are the. three
Yeah, I don't
zones.
think anything is in the ag district along the lake shore, yeah.
But this
But
number one,
potentially,
conservation district, right?
yeah,
I mean, number one probably is in the conservation district.
yeah, really
Yeah.
looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
right, well, and so, let's talk about that in just a moment. It seems like we could take this overlay and your proposal would be to remove any non-active ag parcels
Mhm.
within that overlay. So I can send you that map
Mhm.
and then I'll also bring it to the Ag Farm Protection Board. And if we need to revisit, we can.
Yeah,
But that seems like it would be a pretty straightforward
Yeah.
way to approach it.
And then once I have ag assessment, right, like looking at number one,
Right.
like that has ag assessment, so they get the benefits of.
They
don't yet.
ag
They
assessment.
only get, in terms of the benefits offered by the ag district,
Yeah.
the only benefit that they get is protection against the nuisance suit.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
so they, the big difference there being that if it's your underlying zoning and site plan review, all of that basically does not apply
Right.
to commercial agriculture within the ag district,
Right.
but it does apply to farms that receive ag
Yes,
assessment
okay.
outside the district.
and so like, for example, this farm, like, I don't know who owns it, I don't know what they do there, but. Like, if that is in this, if it's in the conservation zone, I wouldn't want to add it to the ag district. But I wouldn't want them to lose their assessment either, because their assessment benefits. Benefits them, but I'm thinking if they decide, hey, we're going to, stop farming it, or we're gonna sell, I don't know. I just. I feel like, letting go of our zoning in the conservation district is too much.
No,
Okay, so
right.
you would propose not adding number one, that property
Correct.
into the district. Okay.
And I guess. As far as number 4 goes,
Can I just back up for a
Yeah.
second? So I want to clarify because in this case, this property is active agriculture.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you're saying in other cases, if your conservation zone overlays with active agriculture, you would keep those within the ag district. I just want to make sure that,
I mean, I guess that wouldn't really be consistent, but removing is different than adding, in
Okay.
my opinion, but I want to hear what other people think.
Can you restate what you
Yeah,
just said,
just-
please? That
Right.
didn't-
okay, so this parcel, number one,
Uh-huh,
is in active agriculture and it's in the conservation zone.
right,
For other properties, we had just talked about, I think, that I would look at the conservation zone. And if there were active ag parcels within that conservation zone, they would remain in the ag district. But if it's not an active agriculture and it's in the ag district, it would come out because it's in the conservation zone. Can I say it one more
yeah,
time?
no, that's
It's like
right,
it's like a
but
grandfather.
Yeah, but then it makes me think about.
But
It
then
does, yeah.
makes you think about what,
If it is active ag, even,
Or what's fair,
yeah, but it's
like,
Well, they get better, I mean, they have
I
the
mean,
point of the whole thing is they're running a commercial farm, and all of a sudden you whip away these nuisance laws, and suddenly people start complaining about the smell, which is not really fair, they're there. I
Mm.
know what you mean about what they sell, we don't want to,
Yeah.
it would be nice to take it back and protect it thereafter, but when. they're already there, but if somebody's not in it, it's like, no, let's not
add.
add more to the
Yeah.
problem. So do you have a solution? I mean, what
Well,
other?
the assessment protects from the nuisance lawsuits,
Right.
even if you're not in the ag district.
Right,
Right, so, okay, so there's a distinction there. So if you're not in the, if you have the assessment, you're protected from the nuisance.
Right.
Even though you're not in the ag district.
Yes.
So putting it in the ag district does what?
It makes it so that your underlying zoning and site plan review
Doesn't.
basically does not apply.
Okay, so,
It defers to
In other
the,
words, they can build what they want.
right,
they could build, I mean, the idea being that DEC and Ag and Markets provides oversight for agriculture.
Right.
To protect water quality, et cetera. And that the burden of having to go through a site plan review process or not being able to build a big enough barn for what you need makes it harder to be a viable commercial enterprise. That's kind of the intention there.
They can clear the land, they can build the barn, whatever they want. They
Right.
don't have to come to us.
okay, that,
Right.
okay, I understand that. The thing about one is, if that's in a, is it in a conservation zone or steep?
Well, we think it might be in
It
a
is.
conservation.
Okay, so if it happens to be in a conservation zone, they still have an assessment, right? Which keeps them from being sued.
That's,
No,
it's in
no,
the lake
assessment
shore
just- it
zone.
just gets-
It's Lake Shore
It's
Zone.
this one right here.
She just said it keeps them from being sued.
so it's definitely. in a
But
group
it's-
of them.
So if
West of
they-
89, though, right?
If there's an assessment, if they have an ag assessment,
Yeah.
and it's not in the district, right, can they still be protected from being sued?
Yes.
Yes, yes, that protection is offered just through ag assessment. In addition to just through ag district, those are,
Okay,
Parallel.
so,
They have to follow those zoning that they're in.
they have to follow the zoning if they receive ag assessment and they're not in an ag district, they still have to follow zoning.
so,
Oh, so.
So-
they-
So
they're
the big,
restricted.
yeah, the big thing,
That's a big one.
the big thing.
Yeah.
And then I think the other piece of it too, of course, is that notice of intent. Which is that if a property is in the ag district and solar comes in,
Yeah.
it goes through that extra level of review, which can be an important thing. Like the ag markets generally is in favor of the solar, but they're trying to direct it off of prime farmland. So that's a benefit, I would say.
You know what would be helpful would
Yeah.
be to have that map in front of us with the overlay of those three parts and to have a discussion with that map in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't know how many properties we're talking about. I don't know how many
Right.
families, how many businesses, how much economic impact,
Yeah.
our discussion might potentially have. Like
Yeah,
I'm looking at Glenwood Heights Road, right? I know there's the bison farm right there.
Yeah.
Like, that's in the ag district. I see it right here. Like, personally, I wouldn't want to remove it from the ag district. But it's a discussion that we should have, and I think that map is.
yeah. When is the,
Also, what, another thing would be, or any of the vineyards, or anybody
Exactly.
starting a vineyard,
That's
because.
another thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so it sounds like you would like to have me come before you again.
Mhm.
that'd be
Yeah,
great.
and you meet twice a month, is that?
Mhm.
Okay, great. I think
Unless
we can
things
do
really slow down.
that. Okay, that sounds good. So I'll just plan to come
Yeah, we could always.
to
make
the
time.
next meeting and I'll have that map for you.
I think that we should also just, do other people have other parcels that they have questions about? Like
Well,
I,
5 is gonna end up in the conservation zone. I figured
Okay,
out where it is.
okay,
That is definitely
okay.
it.
And then also, the removal, like you have A there.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's state parkland.
Right,
I mean, that sounds good. To me, it's protecting Gannett Creek.
Can I ask you a question? So is this basically what all the landscape looks like around the lakes? I mean, it's just almost all yellow everywhere. Because we're going through a comprehensive plan redo, and there's always the conversation of, well, we have these really good agricultural soils and ag land. And if you said, oh, you're the only town that looks, everybody else is, half green or whatever the other color would be. But it's everybody around here looks yellow, right?
not everybody, I would say Enfield, in terms of Ag District 2. Enfield and Newfield have fairly large areas of the town similar to yours. Town of Ithaca is pretty different because it has much more development going on
right.
and not an ag area. And the town of Danby is also pretty different because it has large forested areas and steep hills that are not
Okay.
really.
Yeah,
like,
that's
state-
useful.
State forests and things
Mhm.
like that.
What about Seneca County?
I don't know Seneca County's ag district.
I mean, that would be kind of
Yeah.
interesting to, do a comparison. Is there a place where we can access Seneca County's map?
Yeah, sure, I can provide that for you.
Okay.
No problem.
Because we are right next to them.
Yeah,
It's it has similar topography.
Yeah, that'd be nice to know.
yeah.
No problem.
All right,
Other questions, other asks? Great.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
and
have one
Eagle
here.
Scout.
Actually, yeah, not to put you on the spot, but just kind of questioning, because I see a hole. It's, we have about 10 currently development districts that aren't residential or anything like that.
yeah,
DD3 is one of these holes.
yeah.
Can you explain why that one's not proposed to be put in, but almost all the other development districts are? Can you explain why that?
Which one is
differs?
DD3?
That's the
That's the
one,
far
the
end.
smokehouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I would venture to say that's. You're saying why wouldn't we add it into the district, because it's a whole?
Yeah,
I would. I guess because it is both in a development district and it's not. Active agriculture, or it's not receiving an ag assessment, like it didn't kind of rise to the threshold. So we were looking at higher density areas, and we said one of the criteria was for adding. That if it's, let's see if I can find it. If it's active farmland and it's located outside a non-agricultural zoning district. So if it's located within a non-agricultural zoning, or if it's located within a hamlet zoning district or in a development district. And it's not getting ag assessment, then it doesn't seem like it would. I don't know why you would add it.
okay, so with that logic, why wouldn't you do the reverse then and look at? Yeah.
You could. I mean, you definitely could if you felt like that was more appropriate.
What was your last question?
remove the other development.
Yeah, so the question why DD3 isn't being put in is because it's not ag use, it's not getting an assessment, and it's not currently in an ag district, so why add it? So then my question was like, well, why wouldn't you do the reverse? Because I don't think there's an intent to take any of the development districts and make them agriculture, so.
And if you look at the criteria of at least having to disclose, if you sell the area in the development district, there is agriculture around it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they are very small, I think is part of the answer to that, is
Yeah.
that there's a benefit to. Like you were saying, to have everybody around ag that's in an ag district, getting that notification.
Yeah.
You could definitely add DD3 if you felt like that was important for consistency. You could also propose taking out. I don't know that I guess it doesn't really rise to the level of, great impact. So if you had an opinion about that, I don't think there's any. You could definitely make that happen.
and this goes back to the property owners too, right, for their notification.
They get notified, right? Yeah, that would be the next step.
Do you have the timelines? I mean, you mentioned 30 days, but could you have those in case we do notification or anything like that?
So the timeline, if I can remember it off the top of my head, we started the process in August. I think the open enrollment period was September. No, wait, I'm sorry, I have that wrong. It might have been October. I can't remember when but we've already done the open enrollment period. And then the next target date. In terms of the process, it needs to go to the peak committee at the county level. It's supposed to go there for their December 20th meeting. And the property notification should happen before that. There's a lot of flexibility in this process, though. The state doesn't really, they kind of tell us a general timeline to try and hit. But it's more important that the process is done thoroughly, and so if there's things that kind of slow down that process, it's okay.
And you said 300 days.
It's 300 days, it starts at the anniversary of the district, I can send you the detail on that. But, yeah. Sorry, it's eluding me right now.
I guess looking, on Du Bois Road, near Wilkins Road, there's that, the raccoon center there. Is all that one parcel from Wilkins to, oh, which road is that, Craft, I think? Oh, Perry City,
Yeah,
Perry City,
yeah.
like. You see that parcel that has the Racker Center on it, and just north of that, there's like it seems like that's, I guess it's not receiving assessment. I don't know.
Could we zoom into the map where you're talking about, because
Yeah,
I generally know where you're talking about, but I'm having a hard time placing this.
It's this right here,
Okay.
like if you, I don't know if you just want to peek at it right here.
Yeah, right.
I'm just, yeah, right there,
Yeah.
you got it, zoom in there. So like, I can understand why Hinging Post and the Racker Center are not part of the ag district, right?
Right.
But that part north of,
Yeah.
north of Racker Center, on the corner of Du Bois and Perry City.
Right,
Like-
but that might be added to it.
I mean, what's it being used
It's
for?
not, it's just wood.
Is it
Yeah,
just-
it looks
Yeah.
brushy
Well,
woody.
right.
And is it the same parcel as the Perry City? But not the Perry City, but the Racker Center?
No,
No,
no, could be.
Yeah, it doesn't show parcel on this, I don't know.
okay, oh no, I do see some parcel lines.
Oh, are
but
there parcel?
It's,
Oh, yeah,
it's hard to tell, it seems like blurry to me,
yeah.
but. I don't know.
It looks like one large
It
parcel.
does, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I don't think it is. I think there's some,
Well, looks like there's some houses on Du Bois,
yeah. And then it's woods,
and then it's woods.
yeah.
I was just curious because you seem to be going through with a fine tooth comb over some of the other areas. You're like, well, this little guy right
Right.
here is not being farmed, but it looks like a hole in the ag district. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, well, is that,
Probably.
Yeah, I guess the holes we're looking at. I would say, first of all, it's not a super fine tooth comb. It's the discussion at the Ag and Farm Protection Board were the criteria for what to do. And then I applied those criteria. So in some cases, that meant that I was looking in detail at a specific area, but I did not go parcel by parcel and look at the whole ag district in that much fine tooth comb detail. So in this case, I would say the holes in the district that we were looking at is whether it's a small hole that looks like almost like an error. Like why is that little,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's a logical reason of why this area is not in the ag district. So I'm not looking necessarily to add to the district unless there was ag
happening already.
happening in that place. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some pretty significant streams.
Yes,
You
yeah,
know. And so I think that's why it was.
okay.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, too bad.
Mhm. All right, so we do meet again on the 21st. I'm not sure how full our agenda is. I don't think it's that full
I
yet.
won't be here.
You'll be
My
here that
emails
day.
that day, you know, it's
You won't be here
Thanksgiving.
either, it's Thanksgiving. Oh. This is, you're trying to finish this out in December.
The process does not finish out in December, but the peak committee wants to see what's being proposed 2 months prior to it going to the county legislature for public hearing. It's supposed to go to county legislature by the schedule given to us by the state in February.
Oh, so
So-
we did December 5th. I don't know if you're going.
Well, so the challenge is that we really need to go through that landowner notification process before it goes to peak. And they need their agenda materials 2 weeks in advance. So it would be much better if, I mean, it's possible. If it's not possible to do the 21st and it gets
Well,
pushed to the 5th,
I think,
so be it.
I think could we get comments from you, Rebecca,
Sure.
and Bart via email?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
why
not gonna
don't,
be here. I mean, I can be.
we're gonna have a forum? You're gonna be here, Carl, right? Okay, Mo, you'll be here on the 21st.
That's
2 days
Tuesday
before Thanksgiving.
before Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'll be here, yeah.
Alright, so we have a quorum then.
And I'll be online. I
You'll
can
be online.
I
Okay,
can
well,
do
in case-
that. I'm just stuck in
Alright,
here, so.
alright,
Yeah.
alright, so why don't we do the 21st? And, you know, we love to have our stuff, you know. We love to have our stuff a week ahead of the meeting.
Yeah, no problem. I think that's not gonna be a problem.
And if you're able to provide comments
Yeah.
prior to the meeting, she could respond to them.
Yeah, if we get the
You
map.
know, if you can respond to them at the meeting, we could all
Yeah.
discuss.
Yeah,
your
that would be
thoughts.
great.
Okay. Great. All right, well,
Great.
thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much.
For enlightening.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really good education.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that brings us to, why don't we do the town board liaison report, and then we'll go to your discussion, it sounds like the 2 minutes. All right, Rich, the floor is yours.
At the last planning board meeting, the whole BZA showed up to discuss this issue of training. What's required and what, you know, is too burdensome, relevant and all this questions. So, I think we came up with kind of a compromise proposal. Linda, why don't you think?
So I was a lone planning board person there. I was supposed to be.
Thank you, Linda.
So I did go. I thought I missed something. But I didn't go. So most of it was focused on the required online training, or no, the required town oriented training. But then, and so that was more or less resolved. Yeah, the committee, and that was part, you know, the plan that was laid out was handled. They're gonna take into consideration if people already have training elsewhere, they're gonna take a look at it as they can. But otherwise giving people the opening to freedom to take the courses online as required with a really broad, broad space for access, broad timeline, not space, timeline. For access.
Like in terms of sexual harassment training, if you already taken it, let's say at Cornell, if you provide the certificate of training, you don't have to do that.
Wasn't that already the case? No?
No,
But the ethics training, is ethics training as well, they have. You can do that online.
And civil rights.
which
training,
makes
too.
more, which makes more sense, because you're unlikely to get that type of ethics training anywhere else, anyway.
Unless you work cooperative extension, but yeah. Something. My baby. All right.
Well, it would be different, the ethics would be different, probably.
I would say.
And then any training for the planning board, 4 hours a week, right, to do 4 hours.
Right. That was one.
You could, I mean, we want to make it as relevant as possible, so. You want to determine to come with your questions, the topics you want to deal with, we could hopefully provide.
What kind of a budget do we have for that? Because I would love to invite somebody,
That
you know,
came,
speak to us,
Yeah.
they're gonna charge a fee.
and that came up, and we have,
Come on.
that
It
was.
can't be that.
It's just a
Oh, come on. So, I mean,
That's
what-
why I asked you, we have to
I-
put something in the budget.
I mean, if I wanted to go, say there was a conference, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would be great.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, we've
all travel
always,
together.
we've always been
Yeah.
able to do that,
Yeah,
to get reimbursed or for expenses.
Yeah.
Not necessarily travel. That, you never thought that.
Well, I mean, if you went to Syracuse
Yeah.
for a training.
Yeah, for a day. That'd be cool.
Right,
and there are, yeah, I get emails all the time about training sessions that we can go to.
Okay,
you do,
you do,
Yeah.
what do you forward them on?
yeah, did you?
Yeah, sure, I'll forward them, yeah.
We can get on the list too, if we see the thing on the bottom to
sure.
subscribe, great,
Okay.
what are they through?
Uh,
What is your list from?
I can't remember, I have to look it up,
All right.
but yeah, they keep sending them.
Require some.
For some of them are online that you can take and some you can, are classes.
Yeah,
I'd
okay.
rather be in person.
Next, so if you can do these trainings by the end of the year.
Yeah,
Yep,
we need to-
got it.
we need to
Yep.
get the-
Yep.
And then next year, when we set the meeting, the annual meeting. The training for everybody. In their position.
Yeah.
As many people that can come to that, that would take care
Yeah,
of all.
that's good.
Hmm.
And is the process to submit proof of your training to ClearSide?
so
I have a question. If one of the board members gives us training, is that considered training?
Yeah.
Because Rebecca was going to give
Yeah.
us,
Okay,
Yeah, that's great.
I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah.
Wetlands, stream size.
Yeah.
can you do a 4-hour program?
well, yeah, you have.
And I absolutely, but nobody wants
And
it.
can you do it on the 21st?
Actually, like.
There's a large break between,
What
but Rebecca has, will be a good presentation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What I do,
Yeah.
what I do.
That, and I like the other idea of getting,
Calling somebody in.
Dave, I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
that conversation we started to have on. When he spoke to us about
Yeah, that was awesome.
together and everything, I'm sure there's much more he could go into,
Mhm.
yeah.
So there's a New York State Association of Towns and Counties, and they have an annual conference. I'm gonna talk there.
Uh-huh.
Thursday, but I mean, that's the place to look for,
Okay.
like relevant seminars and stuff like that. So New York, there's one New York State Association of Counties, and there's a New York State Association of Towns and Villages.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
can check those out for what they have upcoming, when there's an upcoming webinar.
The main conference for planners was held in New York City this year.
Okay.
And there's no way I'm going to New York City for a conference, but that's where it was being held.
Yeah, they gotta get more realistic.
Yeah, really, yeah, that's crazy.
Do they like the Zoom?
Excuse me?
Do they like the Zoom?
No, this in person.
See, that would be another good question, you could get certified. The other thing is, personally, one of the things I've been doing during the pandemic and everything was its forestry program, I don't even know the formal title, but they've been having online every month, they have a program for an hour for different forest ones, on invasives, deer, all of those kinds of things, which I think are relevant to what we do. There's better things that I could be spending my time on, but it's, we're trying to preserve trees. It was the one thing I could find that had multiple advantages to. How do we get a course?
Here,
All right.
Or do we need? a group?
All right.
State,
All right. There it is. What is that? What department is that?
The Department of State.
yeah, the New York State Department. Just type in training courses for planning board, New York State, and that's what you're gonna come up with. I just did it very quickly.
Okay.
And they have one after the other. There's probably a dozen, no, there's more. There's 7 pages of it.
Wow. All right.
So there's probably 40 or 50
So we can
classes.
do
you can
whatever
take.
we want.
You can take whatever you want.
That's all.
Well,
Yeah,
could we
find
do
that
it
list.
during one of the sessions? Like, could we put it up on the screen and just go
Like if
through
we
it?
had one thing on our agenda and then we close the meeting and.
Yeah,
that-
do
that's
a
good
quick
idea.
class, yeah.
You want to stay to midnight?
That's so-
Right, exactly.
It's a 4-hour thing, right?
Yeah.
The time we
There's
spent
74 hours
with,
over the whole-
Kristen
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
awesome. I
That
learned
was helpful,
so
yeah.
much.
Yeah,
more.
it's-
So thankful.
Like this course is 1 hour and 5 minutes, and this is, you just watch it.
Great.
Do they give you a certificate?
I would like,
Certificate at the
yeah,
end.
I'll make the
you
motion.
make a motion to adjourn, thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Second,
And there's a
all in
quiz
favor?
involved.
I.
All right, excellent.
All right.
Oh, you beat me.